Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. Yes, we took a break last week. We just had to go deeper into the information about this draft to pull some things out for you. But we're back, fellas. We're back. Eric, what's going on, man?
Happy to be back. Good week off, but we're ready to get back to work.
That's right. That's right. Mike, how we doing today?
I'm good, man. No complaints. No complaints. Just ready to talk some Manders.
Let's go. We still haven't found a short name for the Commanders. Is Manders the official short name?
I don't even know why I said that. Now I gotta hear everybody's mouth. What's a Mandy? What's a Mandy?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
I like for the salad variety.
That's right. Eric, how much are you missing? Have you gotten to that point in the offseason yet where you're missing NFL Sundays already, or are you still kind of detoxing from last season?
My Sundays are very busy. I actually don't miss NFL Sundays a lot because I fill up my Sundays with all the things I don't do in the fall. So I have a very full schedule every Sunday. I miss the NFL like during the week when there's like not news dropping every second of the day. That's when I miss it. Game day Sundays are wonderful in the fall, but I have so much to do that I'm fine on the weekends.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? Are you missing it yet?
Nah, because it's so much going on right now to get ready for the season. The NFL is one organization. I'm not even going to say sport. One organization that nailed year-round activity. Yeah. Like from January to December, you're really talking NFL. No other. I mean, of course, other sports are doing things, but nobody capitalizes on the internet, social media, 24/7 news cycle the way the NFL has done forever, but especially the last 5 years or so. Like they're killing the other sports organizations right now as far as coverage. So, yeah, I'm not missing the actual game because I got so much to chew on between February and August.
Yeah, and a lot of that, the NFL popularity is being driven by fantasy football. And fantasy football is becoming a year-round proposition with dynasty leagues and all that kind of stuff. So there's always something to talk about. Eric, Sunday night football, Sunday afternoon football, Monday night football, Thursday evening football. Which one of those is your favorite time slot?
Sunday, actually the Sunday 1 o'clock time slot because it's the most convenient for me. I know, exactly when I need to be home because that's when they always play, or 9 times out of 10, that's when they're playing. So I'm a creature of habit. I like consistency. So my Sunday 1 p.m. time slot, I'll watch them anytime. Thursday night's a little rough. Monday night's a little rough. Sunday night, isn't the best. The 4 p.m. Sunday, obviously I'll make it work. 1 o'clock Sunday, just give me that. Give me my consistency. Of course, it means your team probably isn't very good if they're playing at 1 o'clock on Sunday, but still, it's consistent and I like it.
I forgot the 4:30 game. Yeah, there's a 4:30 game too. I'm not a big fan of the 4:30 games. It just feels like you're waiting extra for nothing. Mike, what's your favorite time slot to watch football?
Man, that's tough because I think I like any time slot, to be honest with you. It's kind of more of the importance of the game that matters. Like if it's a huge game, actually don't give me Sunday night or Monday night. Put that 4:25 on Fox or CBS so that the whole country see it for free. It's the afternoon. You're not too tired. You may be a little exhausted from church or the first set of games, but you still got enough energy left to actually invest into the game. I feel like that's when social media is popping too. That 4 o'clock time slot, because you got the whole entire country either watching one game or most of the country watching one game while you're watching your trash team play in the games that don't matter. But Sunday night, Monday night, they don't do it for me like they used to back in the days, man. Maybe Sunday night football is probably my second favorite, but I'll take the 4:25, 4:15, 4 o'clock. Those games usually cook.
And hit the comments. Tell us what your favorite time to watch football is. I think, I miss Monday Night Football being that premier game every week. Like, it was always a good matchup. You had Al Michaels, John Madden, and things like that. Like and Mike Tirico for a while. ESPN had it for a while with Tony Kornheiser. Didn't love him in the booth, but that whole period. It doesn't feel the same anymore, though. Monday Night Football doesn't feel as special because Sunday Night Football is there now. Honestly, I think I like Sunday Night Football just because it's the end of the day. If I'm watching the Commanders, I prefer them to play at 1:00 because that's when I want to watch it. I got that time reserved, but I actually like consuming football better Sunday night. And then Thursday night, I like more than the average fan because it breaks up the week. Like you're just working, waiting for Thursday. As long as it's not our team playing, I love Thursday night football. I hate playing fantasy players on Thursday night, but I love Thursday night football because it's just an extra game to watch that you don't have to think about. All right. Jaden Daniels is going to be in town Monday and Tuesday to visit with the Commanders organization coming up this week. Adam Schefter, for the second week in a row, said that signs are pointing to Jaden Daniels being the Commanders quarterback. Eric, what does Jaden Daniels need to show the Commanders when he's in town talking to the brass Monday and Tuesday for him to lock up the number 2 pick?
See, that's the thing is I have no idea. The front office is so secretive and nobody knows what they're going to do. And I love that so much. I so appreciate that. So I can sit here and speculate that he needs to just show that he's, got a bright football mind, just be able to answer all the questions they throw at him, look at his demeanor, the little things, the body language when he thinks people aren't looking, that kind of stuff. Like, is he really the guy that they say he is? Those are all those are the job interview answers. The truth is that this organization is not interested in tipping its hand. So we really still don't know exactly what they are looking for in a quarterback. We don't know if Jaden Daniels is or isn't it. We don't know if Drake May is or isn't it, or J.J. McCarthy or Caleb Williams if he drops. We don't know yet. So I'm excited about the prospect of not knowing until the draft who they're actually going to pick. I don't believe any reports that so-called insiders have because there's just no reliable information, and every insider seems to have a different report, which lends credence to the point that nobody really knows and everybody's speculating. So I'm looking forward to whomever the Commanders draft this year. I don't care who it is. I trust this front office. If it's Jaden Daniels, let's rock. If it's somebody else, let's rock with that. But yeah, enjoy your visit, Jaden. Morton's Steakhouse is pretty good.
He's going to Ben's Chili Bowl.
No, he's a tourist. That's like going to Gino's and Pat's in Philly.
I believe Adam Schefter. I think Schefter's been in the business long enough, and he has enough relationships to come with real information. And when he says they're leaning Jaden Daniels 2 weeks in a row, and he reiterated that today, and he said, "I'm standing behind this. I'm buying it. I think Jaden Daniels is coming into town this next couple of days, or Monday and Tuesday, to lock up his selection at number 2 in the draft. As long as he shows sort of that leadership quality that they're looking for. They already know what kind of person he is by now. I just think that this is just sealing the deal. If he has good chemistry with the coaches, I think it's a lock. All right, Mike, what are fans thinking before the draft, and what should they be thinking before the draft? And I'm going to ask you this question because you came up with it. You're essentially tonight's producer, man. What are fans focused on that and maybe they're missing the point? What should they be focused on?
So right now, just seems like everybody, well, not everybody, a good chunk of the fan base is at war right now between May and Daniels. And they think that's the most important thing. They think one is better than the other. We can argue all day between who's better between May and Daniels. But what they should be thinking, and I understand we haven't even had training camp, mini camp, week 1, week 7, 10, 12, 14, 18, wild card, Super Bowl. None of 2024 has happened yet. We have to think about the 2025 season. I'm going to tell you why. I remember in 2008 when Jim Zorn was here and the team started off 6-2, and everybody was all happy. We were sliced. And then the last 18 games happened. Awful. Just awful. I'm sorry, not 18. The last 24 games happened. I'm sorry. And it was awful. 4 years ago. Well, not quite. Almost 4 years ago. Ron Rivera won the division title in his first year. I get it. It was a 7-9 record. A lot of teams was injured in the East, yada, yada, yada. But the fact of the matter is, they won a division title in 2020. This organization seems to, one way or another, have a great or okay first year as a head coach under a new regime. That second year has been horrible all across the board. I think the only coach that had a great second year was Gibbs the second time around. In 2005, they won those last 5 games, won a playoff game. Should have probably went to the NFC Championship game that year. Yeah, he's the only coach I could think of off the top of my head that had a great second year. So as happy as I am about year one, I'm excited about year one. I can't wait to see how it goes. But it doesn't matter if they go 3-13 or 13-3. Unless they win a Super Bowl this year, I feel like we as a fan base need to have some sort of focus towards 2025. And hopefully we could finally get some long-term sustainable success for this franchise. But we got to get there first, and we got to get through 2024 first. But remember, it doesn't matter if we draft May or Daniels. That second season is going to be way more important than this season, to me at least. And I feel like for you as well.
You already got your eyes on Shedeur Sanders. You don't care about me or Daniels.
No, I did. I
2025.
I wanted to say the quarterback that we take is going to be the future quarterback. I don't think short of them having a Josh Rosen-like season and Shedeur or whoever, whichever quarterback. I don't even know if he's going to be the best quarterback next season. But whomever that QB is, they would have to have an astronomical season for me to want to turn my back on May or Daniels after year one.
So what do you think, based on – sorry, I'm going to take over hosting duties for a second now. Based on the correct assertion that you made that the second year it was always kind of a flop year under coaches. And I would add to that, the year after they make the playoffs, every single time was a flop year. They never were consistently good. What do you attribute that to?
It's a cop-out answer, but it's ownership, man. Like, for whatever reason, Snyder either got too happy or didn't demand enough after the – I don't know what it was, but it has to be the ownership, and that's why I'm more optimistic than I am about the future, simply because we have a new owner. Now, does that mean that we're going to automatically start winning? No. But that's the one constant thing, at least in my time as a fan, even though I've been watching since before Snyder took over. But realistically speaking, since he's taken over, that's been the one consistent thing with this organization. Him at the top, either not demanding enough or getting too involved with the team. And I feel like we can already see right now, Josh Harris has been almost hands off. I know he was in the room when we interviewed the quarterbacks at the combine. I feel like that's fine. It's year one as an ownership. He said he never been to a combine before. Your quarterback is going to be the face of your franchise, whether you like it or not. So I understand why he went, and I'm not tripping off of that because I know he won't be there next year.
Let me answer this question too, because I think for me, the reason that we're always bad is you got to go back to the reason why we were good. So the years that we make the playoffs come after really, really poor years prior to that, right? And so our strength of schedule is not as strong as some other teams, right? Sometimes we're coming off like 3-win seasons, right? 5-win seasons. And so we're playing the worst teams in the league. And we benefit from that. It's circumstances of being unfortunate that's essentially leading to us making the playoffs. It's not because we're a great team. There's no sustainable architecture in our organization. It's just that we have a bad season the year before. We get a very favorable strength of schedule. And then we put together enough pieces with enough momentum, quote unquote, to make the playoffs and be good. Out of all those seasons that we made the playoffs since Joe Gibbs returned, when did we ever have a team that you felt like was winning games consistently throughout the season? In Joe Gibbs' era, we were winning the last 5 games of the year every time we went to the playoffs. Remember that? We had to make his late season run. I think we did that in the Jay Gruden era too. And the reason, the way you know that is, how many times have we won 13 games since 2000, the year 2000, right?
13.
It's none, right?
11.
Sometimes over 3 years, you don't win 13 games on occasions.
Right. But that's because our team is not really good and we're not building sustainable depth. We're not managing turnover on the roster correctly. Then the other problem is we buy into that season that we get lucky and make the playoffs because we have a poor strength of schedule and other teams are bad too in the division because they got salary cap issues. Then we go out and we add to that really bad team that got lucky and made the playoffs and add free agents that don't belong here because we're not really ready to compete. Then we have to start forwarding our cap charges because we did this a lot during the Snyder era. Well, we're going to restructure. We're going to restructure to keep this team together instead of tearing it all the way down. But that's why we only made the playoffs every 3 to 4 years, is because it always took the time for us to be bad enough to get a poor strength of schedule, the division to run through contracts and have to retool for their contract situation for our divisional opponents. And we're just sitting here like, hey, we did it. We made the playoffs. We're on fire. And we go and we lose in the round. The only exception I would give to that is 2012. I think we actually had a pretty good team in 2012. Now, 2013, I think we turned around and won, 6 games or something like that? Do you remember? 4 games in 2013. And maybe that's 5, with that quarterback situation, right? Robert was hurt. And a lot of that drama at that point, that whole situation was over because our team melted down off the field and it reflected that way on the field. But outside of that, there's no sustainability because we're winning because of circumstance. And that's what, to Mike, your point, I want to be different. I want to win because of talent, not because of circumstance. And if we win because of talent, then you can sustain that winning year in and year out. You may not win 13 every year. You may not win 12 every year, but you better be competing for 9 and then letting the other 2 games fall where they may, 2 to 4 games, fall where they may. We've never been that team. So that's what I want to see out of this regime. And like, the first year is important to me too, because even if we don't win a ton of games, I need to see a very positive direction with this organization. And I don't just mean that they fight hard. I don't just mean that they have good character. I mean that these guys look like they can play football and we're missing a few pieces. That's what I want to see on the field the first year. And then the second year, I do want to compete. I mean, by golly, Miss Molly, like we need to start putting together a team that is here year in and year out. And I'm so tired of the cliche of when you play us, you're going to feel it. Well, okay, cool. But it also should amount to something too, right? Like I'm glad we're tough, but if we're tough and then losing every fight that matters, and who cares? You know what I'm saying? So I need to see something different out of that. Rant over.
Yeah. But I would just add on the, with the playoff runs early in the Snyder tenure, those first years, the consistent theme after a playoff season was just overhaul. They would just overhaul everything and go. They would just assume that they were closer. Like Dan and Vinny just assumed that they were close. They were Super Bowl contenders because they made the Super. So they would just go off. So you remember that first year with Norv Turner, they made the playoffs. The following year, that was the Bruce Smith. They just brought in every free agent they could find. Then under Gibbs, they made the playoffs. What do? The offense struggled a little bit, relied too much on Portis, so they brought in Al Saunders and the 700-page playbook, and that flopped. 2012 happened. 2012 is a little different because that's the Bruce Allen era. And that's when the kind of the toxicity, I think, kind of creeped in. And you started seeing that, maybe Mike Shanahan's getting too much credit for this. So we're going to try to undermine him. We saw the same thing in 2015 with Scott McCloughan, where, I don't think I'm getting the credit I deserve. So I'm going to throw this guy under the bus and make this my team. It just happened every year. It was a consistent team with this team. And ownership was the root of the issue. We have new ownership now, experienced sports ownership, patient ownership. I do not expect to repeat the mistakes of the past. And if this team does, I might go be a Chargers fan or something. I don't know. I don't know if I can take another 25 years of this.
It's a lot, man, but I don't think it'll happen. I think we're free and clear of those demons now. So good question, Mike, there coming up with that. All right. We haven't talked about Dan Quinn in a very long time. Should we be talking about Dan Quinn more, Eric? Are we neglecting Dan Quinn and what he's up to at this point in time of the season, or is this just the Adam Peters season?
Yeah, I mean, what is there to talk about with Quinn that we haven't really already mentioned? They brought him in. We had a lot of discussions about him when they brought him on. There were some people that had some strong opinions either way. I was more of a guy that was not really high on Quinn, but I wasn't against hiring him at all. I think he's a very competent head coach, and in the right situation with the right quarterback, they can do some damage with Dan Quinn. So I'm excited. Actually, I feel better about him now than I do when during the interview process and when he was actually hired. I think that folks around the league just rave about him. The fact that he got Bobby Wagner to come play here, and make no mistake, he wanted to come play for Dan Quinn. So I think that's awesome. So I'm pumped. Actually, I'm officially on the Dan Quinn bandwagon, and you're going to have to kick me off because I think, I don't know if it's too early to start the bandwagon, but I'm a fan. I think that he's a real guy. He's legit. Guys really do like him. It's not just lip service. And, the talent that he's managed to bring here, even with Wagner being kind of at the tail end of his career, that dude has not fallen off at all. So yeah, I'm excited for Dan Quinn. I don't care if nobody's talking about him. I prefer that because I don't really, I don't like the offseason championship thing. I'd rather everybody talk about what a genius Howie Roseman is for drafting guys from Georgia. And let that be the offseason talk and just let us lie in the background. I want no expectations going into the season. So I'm fine with not talking about Dan Quinn right now.
And I remember you were kind of lukewarm on Kingsbury as well. Have you warmed up to the idea of Kingsbury?
That remains to be seen. I like the idea of the work that he's done with various different types of quarterbacks, which again lends credence to the fact that we really don't know who they're going to draft, because he's shown that he'll build his offense around what the quarterback can do. So that's a good thing for me. He's not going to be the head coach. He's only going to focus on offense. We've never really seen that. I've never really seen that from him because, his days, in Arizona and then at Texas Tech, that's really what I know him from. I don't know him as anything other than a head coach. So it'll be interesting to see. It's more of a curiosity with Kingsbury maybe than an excitement. I can see the allure, but I'm not quite sold yet. So looking forward to seeing what they can do with him.
Mike, what are you expecting from Joe Whitt this year? He's kind of gone under the radar too. We brought him over from Dallas. He likes to attack defensively. What are you expecting from Joe Whitt this year as a leader for the defense, and as well as just a defensive coach in general?
I'm so high on him, bro. Somebody, I think it was Rio Robinson from his podcast or his Twitter page. He asks out of Forbes, St. Juice, Jamin Davis, and Dotson, I think were the four. Who did I expect the most from, or who did we expect the most from for their from last season or whatever, or who we expect to play better? I picked Forbes and St. Juice specifically because of Joe Whitt. I really feel like you cannot ignore this man's track sheet, man. You can't ignore the success that he's had in Green Bay, Atlanta, and Dallas when it comes to secondary players. And I always felt like, and I'm a bigger fan of St. Juice than most. I feel like he has the perfect size and skills for a cornerback. Him playing hockey growing up, I don't take that for granted at all. If you know anything about hockey, you know they have to have hip movement. Their hips have to be very, very fluid because they're skating forward. They're skating backwards. They cannot be stiff. So I feel like that alone makes St. Juice a perfectly built cornerback. And I feel like Joe Whitt is not only going to make Forbes a better player, but I really feel like if everything goes well at the end of the season, he's a free agent too at the end of the year. So it's a contract year for him. Like I I've always been high on him, but entering this season because of Joe Whitt, I'm higher on Benjamin St-Juste. So to answer your question, I'm expecting him to come here and cook with that secondary immediately. And I really feel like they may not need to add too many pieces, but if they could find the right cornerback to add to the secondary pieces that they already have, Joe Whitt is not only going to have the secondary humming, but that entire defense might finally reach the potential that we thought it was going to reach under Del Rio and Rivera.
If the season ended today, would you be re-signing Benjamin St-Juste as is, or do you need to see this upcoming season?
I'd re-sign him, and honestly, I would be happy if I could re-sign him now before next season. I really feel like he's going to be flirting with a second team All-Pro season. Like, I am that high on St-Juste because the year before, the 22 season, remember, he played pretty okay. He was just getting called for pass interference a lot. I feel like Joe Whitt Jr. is going to be able to fine-tune this man, y'all. I'm telling you. Like, I love Forbes. Don't get me wrong. But the weight is an issue. He's only going to be so good in this league because of his body. But because of St-Juste's attributes, he the one, y'all. I'm telling you, he is the one. Like he will end the year as our CB1 unquestionably, and he's gonna be looking for a good payday in 2025 for real. Maybe not from us, but yeah, some team is gonna pay that man. And I'm like the Maple Leafs. Like I'm so high on that St-Juste Whitt combination. Like I just thank you for asking me that question because I've been kind of holding it back. And I haven't told anybody about this, but I guess it just kind of all came out when you asked that question. But yeah, like St-Juste 2024. I'm driving that bandwagon, one hand on the steering wheel, left arm out the window. I am driving. I'm whipping that thing.
Oh man, one headlight out. Base kicking. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Oh man. All right. So Eric, give me your final thoughts on where we are in this off season and the draft's in 2 weeks. Give me your final thoughts on tonight's episode.
I'm excited for the draft in 2 weeks because I just don't know I have an idea, I guess, of what's going to happen, but I don't know specifics. And I'm still on the camp that we don't really know what's going to happen at 2 or anywhere else. I'm here. I've heard a couple of rumblings again, speculation that, the team might try to move back into the first round with packaging a couple of those day 2 picks to move back up maybe and grab a left tackle a little higher than at 36. And I'm all for it. If you can land like a Fashanu, somebody like that in the mid first round, low in the low teens, go for it. So I'm excited. I can't wait. I guess we got OTAs coming up here in a few weeks after that. The little mini camps are going to start up. So we'll have plenty to talk about the coming weeks. But yeah, I'm just where I need to be. I'm in full on off season mode right now, enjoying my life and still checking the news sites daily just to make sure I'm not completely lost when something cool happens.
I like it, man. Mike, final thoughts?
I'm like you. I'm excited for the draft. It really feels good having some good chefs in the kitchen and just watching them cook from afar. If they did what they did in free agency, I can't imagine seeing what's going to happen the last week of April. I'm talking trade ups. I'm talking trade backs. I'm talking drafting players you have no idea that they are even targeting right now. And it's going to be really, really fun, I feel like. And if you're going to the draft day party and you happen to see me, you shout me out. I might have a beer with you or something. And I don't even drink beer, but that's how excited I am for the future of this franchise. I will have a beer with all the fans of Commanders Declassified. And yeah, like that's just like I'm psyched. I'm happy. I'm ready to get this going, man. I'm really am.
Hashtag drink with Mike.
And it won't even be that stale beer that Dan Snyder used to sell. It'll be the good stuff.
The freshest of the fresh.
$16 Bud Light. Enjoy that.
I'm excited too. It's the off season, so I focused a lot on other things, but I'm ready to get back into football full stop, man. I love what we've done so far this offseason as a whole. Free agency was a little bit more exciting than I was expecting with the Bobby Wagner signings. He's older, but he's still a great linebacker. I'm ready for the draft. The draft starts in our second round pick, period, or which might become a first round pick if we trade up. You never know. Not saying we will, but the draft starts after we draft our quarterback for me, because once that's out the way, then it's all about building the team to fit around that quarterback. And that's going to be the really cool part. Plus, like you guys have already said, you really get to see Adam Peters go to work in those later rounds. And we get guys that we had no idea we'd be able to get at that point in the draft, and see those guys develop and become superstars. So that's it. Commanders Declassified. We are out of here. Thank you for checking back in with us. We will be back next week. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you later. Commanders Declassified. We are out. HTTC.